This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you would like to help support this channel and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron on patreon.com/CityScapes. Hi guys, CityScapes here and welcome back. Welcome back to episode 45 from the Verville city. Really good to see you here today. So, on screen right now, you can see what we did in the last episode from Verville. We wrapped up all the areas around the train station and the tracks, which was a project that was going on for forever. We completely demolished an area that was sitting right in the heart of Verville and gave it a long-needed overhaul. This included just some generic city blocks as well as a very modern contemporary office area on the south side of the main station. I think it's the south side, yeah. And that last project, together with what we are doing today here, finally enables the first POV rides. Oh my god, I've been talking about that forever. But now with this huge progress we are doing today here, we enable one tram ride, maybe even two tram rides, as well as one bus ride, and also at least one train ride, maybe even two. We will see about that. But I still need to replace all the train tracks with the upcoming Railway 2 assets that have been made by Revo. And it's not quite finished yet, but yeah, very soon you will see that. Okay, but what's on the plate for today's episode? I think on this picture here you get a really good idea in what area we are working today. On the upper side of the screen you can see the progress we made in episode 32, and today we are completely filling the gap here. Believe it or not, but we will completely fill all these city blocks and therefore finish a big chunk of the city. So let's get started right away. As you can see, I laid down the whole road layout and all the networks already beforehand, but there's nothing too special to it. As usual, I tried to make some interesting shapes and not just a too sterile city grid layout. I also plopped down a lot of buildings already, so I can only select them and move them around where they actually fit. But I think you know the drill by now. It's always handy to see the stuff you have in your repertoire. It's just an easier way to handle builds like this. I was actually completely overthinking this whole area here. I was looking for a real-life inspiration for way too long, and in the end I just decided to go with my guts and build something from my own imagination, like in the old times. So for instance, this building you can see here is some kind of headquarters in Geneva. It's the UN Refugee Agency international headquarters, and yeah, obviously this is not from Zurich, but who cares? It fitted just perfectly into this road layout in here. It has this really interesting triangular shape to it, and I had it sitting there anyway since over 2 years, believe it or not. And now it's finally incorporated into the whole city here. And yeah, right now on screen, very interesting, the urban highway exit or on-ramp, however you want to call it. It's more like a highway trench, which is nicely sunken into the ground, so it's not too obtrusive. And it brings all the cars to the highway interchange. Since I have only around 2 highway access for Verville here, I expect this road to be really busy, but somehow it's not too crazy with the traffic here. But that's something I can't really change. I have so many block buildings already and also industrial stuff going on, and still the traffic is really not that much in this safe game here. I suspect it has something to do with the public transit system I have in place here. I mean, I have tram, bus and train stops almost everywhere, so maybe it's just not really needed. Who knows? But anyway, I really liked how this arterial or distributor road turned out. It's nicely surrounded by greenery, and I think it's just always a good idea to hide these high capacity, ugly roads as good as possible, keeping the places as green as I possibly can here. Yeah, and over here in this area I thought it's a really good spot for another tram depot, because as of now I have only 2 tram depots. And when I recently changed the tram models, and they all had to respawn in that 1 or 2 tram depots, I had huge congestions, and this gave me the idea to develop some more tram depots, which is also, I mean, in Zurich, I think there are over 20 tram depots or something like that. It's actually pretty insane. And yeah, that's what I'm doing here right now. I mean, yeah, I'm jumping around all the time with the stuff I'm doing. For instance, right now I'm detailing the train station plaza a little bit. I'm just a bit chaotic when it comes to City Skylines. I have trouble with committing to one build and completely finish it in one go. I always have to have some variety. I think today's episode is a really good example of that. I mean, we are doing so many different things. Right now I'm detailing again, and later on we go back to some larger scale stuff. But right now I'm just filling this area here in front of the tram depot a little bit with all kinds of different stuff. A little parking lot over there and some random vehicles here. You know the drill. Just try to make the area feel more lively. Now back to the bigger stuff. Since we are more or less at the edge of the city of Verville here, I felt I should really tune back the density a bit and keep the area as green as I possibly can. It's always a big challenge to mark the edge of a city, to have this kind of transition phase away from high density stuff to lower density. But I think I got quite lucky with this area here, because we have that highway bridge on the left side of the screen there, as well as the train stuff, which already makes for a good edge, but it's still kind of sharp, or however you want to call this. So in the future I think I will expand over this area a little bit and have maybe some single family homes over there, or yeah, actually I'm not sure how exactly I will do this, but for now it feels quite finished, this part of the city here. Right now I'm placing some multi-family homes along the street here. I think a good mixture of modern and old architecture really fits this whole area here. This huge old building I'm moving around here was also sitting here for forever. I have no clue when exactly I placed this down. But I thought this would give us a good opportunity to make some kind of park area around it, which should blend in very well with the green shoreline I'm gonna do shortly here. But first, I had to readjust the tram tracks here a little bit. I wanted to move the tram stop away from the middle of the main road there. Yeah, and have the stop separated a little bit. I think I never talked about this boulevard here. This pedestrian zone with the tram tracks in the middle has also been developed quite a while back. I made this... Actually, I don't think I made this off camera, but this is part of the footage I lost, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter too much, it's nothing too special. I like this part very much where the tram track makes this nice gentle curve away or closer to the main road, depends on the direction. And I love this these small plazas that result from a street layout like this. I'm gonna fill it with some statues and whatnot. But right now I'm just developing that park I was talking about before in front of this really old large building. I imagine it to be some kind of museum. I mean, why not? It gives us a good excuse to make this really nice looking park area in front and in the backside as well, which should help with the density transition I was talking about before. I think it's also really cool that we have this very straight direct connection to the tram stop over there at the main street. So we have already a name for this tram stop, something with the museum, I guess. Now, this was really a tricky part because, as I said before, it's really hard to make convincing looking transitions from high to low density. And I thought I will do the transition with these cube houses made by Titan. I think it would make sense that some wealthier people develop their mansions very close to the denser areas. And I just think it looks good in City Skylines to make the transition with those houses. Now we are working on the backside of the museum, let's call it museum from now on. I leveled out the area a little bit and the terrain slopes, I covered them with some bushes. And with these stairs you get to the lower area where the hiking path goes along the shoreline. I think here it's pretty evident again that Verville is very, very hilly. It's not flat at all. I always have to make these terrain transitions. And I think they really help making an area more interesting. I don't really know what to do with completely flat terrain. As you can see here, I can even place some of the grey flame rocks, which always look fantastic. And with the surface, no, not the surface, the forest brush, I partially covered those rocks in, in some greenery. But in general, I wanted to keep this area a bit less foresty. I wanted to have a more open feel to it, because I figured this would be a really nice spot for the citizens of Verville to take a swim in the lake. As you can see here, the current is still pretty strong, because we have that outlet from the river from above. So they could jump in here and float down and take a later exit. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to make this park behind the museum completely symmetrical. It's pretty messy looking from above, but I mean, why the heck not? Here I abandoned the park for a little bit and made some more city blocks. I wanted to get over with these buildings here, so I finished the last blocks in here, and as always, these corner areas are always very tricky to do. So if I can't find a building that has the right angle, I usually choose some very small buildings to make the corner manually. And when I had a look at the area from above, I realized that the city blocks were a little bit too big. So I divided them with some other roads. And here I wanted to expand that pathway a little bit, and I also wanted to use the network multi-tool a little bit. Here I really didn't quite understand how it works, but yeah, I just cut this out and practiced a little bit off camera. Oh, and now this is super satisfying. Do you see how perfectly this church fits in the road layout here? That was a very, very good moment. Because before the church I had a city block there, but it was too wide and I had to adjust the main road with node controller, moving it to the side a little bit, and it was just too tight. And even the curvature of the church fits the area perfectly. And I also think it helps for the transition phase. Okay, now I think this part of the video is a bit complicated to understand without commentary. So basically what I was trying to do here is to have a really cool looking underpass for pedestrians in this area here. Because as you can see, we have that distributor or arterial road that goes to the interchange on the right side, and just the main road that cuts straight through the city. So it's a really busy intersection. We don't have public transit in these networks over there, so I figured I should do something like an underpass. At first I wanted to use the same technique I used to build the sunken construction site from the last episode, but then I figured the area is already too densely packed with stuff. It's a bit too hard to get it right. So in a second you will see me copy pasting the road networks to the outskirts of the city, as you can see here, and I started from scratch. On the left side I used the clipping networks, or the clipping surface brushes, or however they are called, to create this hole in the ground. Then I filled this hole with ploppable surface to have the floor, and these concrete prop walls, as well as the prop stairs, and yeah, lots and lots of networks. I even placed down some decals to make the floor looking a bit more interesting, and placed down some underground entrances to the Geneva headquarter building. You probably won't believe it, but this build here took so long to finish. It was just super finicky, and as always there are like infinite ways to do a build like this, and I probably didn't choose the easiest way. But I think it turned out great in the end. In a second you will see me copy pasting this whole build with procedural objects and move it into place. I had to fill all these grass edges with ploppable pavement, so I didn't have to do this later on, as you can see here right now. It just fits perfectly. I mean, why shouldn't it? I copy pasted the road network, so it's exactly the same shape. And here you can see these ploppable clipping brush thingies, so you can see into the ground again. I could only copy paste the procedural object, so I had to manually place the other types of assets like this elevator here manually. Of course I had to do some smaller adjustments as well, as you can see here, adjusting the procedural walls a little bit here and there. And later on I also placed down some fences. To make it all functional I had to draw these pedestrian pathways all over the place here, and you will see it in the cinematics. It's really busy, the whole area. Okay, so I think it's already time to wrap up today's episode. Thank you each and everyone very much for watching. You guys are great. And if you really enjoy the stuff I do here, please consider supporting me over on Patreon. I am currently working on the successor series for Verville here. And as you can imagine, there are some costs involved I would like to cover with my YouTube revenue, as well as the money raised over from Patreon. I'll need a lot of custom assets to make the series feel as authentic as I possibly can. And it's really cool to have some other asset creators on board as well. And I would very much like to pay them a decent sum for their awesome work they do. So if you would like to push the development of future projects and series as well, head over to patreon.com. Of course, you can also like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. This also helps out a lot. And if you can't get enough from Verville and the Citadel, you should definitely check out my Instagram account. I post high-resolution screenshots over there. And if you just want to chat and share your opinions about whatever, join our cozy community over on Discord. It's all linked in the video description down below. And with that said, I wanted to leave you with the cinematic shots here. Enjoy once again today's build, and I'm really looking forward to see you in the next one.